Welcome to Ventichic, where future billionaires come for inspiration. When it comes to luxury watches, Rolex reigns supreme as the most renowned and sought-after brand globally. The Rolex name alone can often seal the deal for many buyers, regardless of what it truly signifies. However, before you dive into purchasing a Rolex, here are 3 essential things you should be aware of. Number 1. Originality. When you think of Rolex, you immediately associate it with a slew of pioneering innovations in watchmaking. For instance, the water-resistant watch was introduced in 1926, the automatic self-winding movement in 1931, and the first self-changing date in 1945. These breakthroughs genuinely reshaped the watch industry, not merely through exaggerated marketing claims, but by compelling even larger competitors to rethink their strategies. Prior to Rolex's 1926 Oyster, watchmakers considered lightweight dust-proof cases sufficient for wristwatches. Rolex challenged that notion. Before the 1931 Perpetual, manual winding was the norm, and Rolex transformed it. Similarly, before 1945, customers had to rely on newspapers to know the date. Remarkably, Rolex didn't invent any of these innovations. They existed in some form. What Rolex excelled at was perfecting these concepts and executing them exceptionally well. In essence, Rolex's legacy isn't about inventing these ideas, but about executing them to perfection, setting the standard for the industry. Take the water-resistant watch for instance. It was sealed with screw threads, a concept conceived during Victorian times, but never put into practice. Other watchmakers had experimented with different, bulkier solutions like push-fit seals, clamping covers, and additional protective cases. Rolex, however, simplified the concepts by threading the bezel, case back, and crown. The outcome was a sensibly proportioned design that was user-friendly and easy to manufacture. A similar story applies to the perpetual rotor. While variations of self-winding movements had been around since the 1770s, they were all unwieldy and intricate, relying on complex mechanisms to compensate for rotor weights that couldn't complete a full 360-degree rotation. Rolex once again simplified matters by creating a rotor weight that could spin freely without obstructions. Consider the self-changing date. The perpetual calendar had existed for decades in wristwatches and centuries in pocket watches. The earliest known example dates back to 1762, and all of them featured a self-changing date mechanism. Yet once again, Rolex identified an opportunity to refine and simplify this revered complication. They removed unnecessary complexities, leaving behind a straightforward date function that required manual adjustments each month. For Rolex, it's never been about inventing the idea, but rather about executing it with excellence, simplicity, and reliability. This philosophy aligns with that of leading tech manufacturers in various industries. Number 2. Outsourcing. Rolex's journey into the world of watchmaking commenced relatively late in the grand timeline of horology. In 1905, Hans Wilsdorf embarked on this ambitious venture. However, by this time, esteemed watchmaking houses like Omega had already enjoyed a staggering 57-year head start, while Patek Philippe had amassed a remarkable 66 years of experience. Wilsdorf, a mere 24-year-old at the time and lacking any formal watchmaking training, faced a formidable challenge: creating watches that could compete on the global stage. He was acutely aware that he couldn't do it alone. He needed expert assistance to turn his vision into reality. It's not uncommon for budding watchmakers to commence their journey by outsourcing certain aspects of production or utilizing catalog parts. Intriguingly, Rolex didn't completely transition to in-house production until the year 2004. For a staggering 99 years of its existence, a significant portion of Rolex's components were not crafted in-house, and even today, a few elements such as the hands continue to be outsourced. The question then arises, why did Rolex follow this approach? When Rolex first entered the scene, the world of wristwatches was in its infancy, with few notable players in the field. This unique circumstance presented Wilsdorf with a strategic advantage: the opportunity to gain a foothold in a market that was transitioning away from the dominance of pocket watches. At that time, the existing wristwatches were primarily ladies' pendant watches, powered by inferior cylinder escapements. Wilsdorf's initial strategy involved identifying a company capable of manufacturing movements with Swiss lever escapements that were small enough to fit within wristwatches. Subsequently, he sought out Denison, a company equipped to supply the necessary hardware for these movements. Armed with these essential components, Wilsdorf set about creating wristwatches that were, in fact, rather commendable. The practicality of these wristwatches soon rendered them indispensable during the tumultuous years of World War I. This pivotal period prompted Wilsdorf to significantly scale up production through his network of manufacturers. As he continued to refine and develop his watches, Wilsdorf consistently identified opportunities to place Rolex at the forefront of global watchmaking. It's worth noting that Hans Wilsdorf was not a watchmaker by trade, rather, he was a shrewd businessman and marketing virtuoso. His remarkable talent lay in understanding the desires of the public and masterfully delivering on them. What he lacked in watchmaking craftsmanship, he more than compensated for with his visionary approach to the business. Number 3. Quality and independence. Hans Wilsdorf, despite his strategic use of outsourcing, harbored a persistent concern regarding the potential impact on quality. Without direct control over manufacturing, the brand faced the risk of encountering inconsistencies or, worse yet, defects. Given Rolex's well-established reputation for precision, akin to that of finely crafted tools, maintaining unwavering quality standards was paramount. As such, Wilsdorf embarked on a journey to rectify this issue, gradually absorbing its suppliers into the Rolex family through a series of acquisitions. One by one, Rolex acquired these essential components of its production chain, ultimately attaining a level of autonomy and self-sufficiency that would serve as a hallmark of the brand's commitment to excellence. This path culminated in the acquisition of Eigler, the family business responsible for crafting Rolex movements, in the year 2004. However, when it comes to certain specialized components such as balance springs, synthetic crystals, rubies, and even hands and dials, it remains exceedingly rare for watchmakers to manufacture these in-house after achieving independence. Even Rolex in this regard shares common ground with esteemed counterparts like Seiko. In the present day, Rolex stands as one of the most self-sustaining watchmakers in the industry. When you invest in a Rolex timepiece, you're not merely acquiring a watch, you're embracing the essence of authentic Swiss watchmaking, crafted in the serene surroundings of the Jura Mountains, meticulously assembled by experienced Swiss watchmakers, and fueled by the essence of Swiss culture through delectable Swiss cheese and Swiss chocolate. History. Here's a fascinating revelation. Rolex isn't as Swiss as you might assume, and its founder Hans Wilsdorf wasn't Swiss either. The brand's origins aren't in Switzerland, and its initial watches weren't Swiss-made. Let's delve into the backstory. At the turn of the century, Wilsdorf was enamored with England. He seized an opportunity to work as an international representative in London, where he saw a chance to import high-quality Swiss movements and assemble them in English cases, offering affordable watches. His Swiss connection with Eigler provided movements, while English company Denison supplied other components. This strategy succeeded, but it needed a memorable name. In 1908, while traveling to his jeweler in Hatton Garden, he came up with Rolex. The name stuck as Rolex watches won numerous accuracy awards. However, World War I and rising import taxes forced Wilsdorf, originally from Germany, to return to Switzerland in 1920. The English heritage of the brand faded, and Rolex was officially registered in Geneva. Conclusion. So, if you're contemplating a Rolex purchase, it's worth recognizing that this brand stands apart from the rest. Its origin, marked by challenges and shaped by ingenious solutions and boundless creativity, may not align with your preconceptions. However, it's precisely these trials and tribulations that render Rolex's triumphs all the more remarkable. If you found this video insightful, please show your appreciation with a like and subscribe to our channel. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.